Parshas Matos starts with the halachas of nedarim and shvuos. We know that a person can forbid himself from having any benefit from a certain item or forbid his items on somebody else. That's the parsha of nedarim. Torah continues with a woman who forbids certain things, and then can their husbands or their fathers cancel the neder, how that all works. But the parsha starts with, interestingly enough, Vayidaber Moshe al Roshei HaMatos. This mitzvah starts with the introduction that Moshe taught this law to the heads of the tribes. Nowhere else in the Torah it says that Moshe taught the laws of kashrus to the heads of the tribes. Of course, the heads of the tribes are part of Klal Yisrael. They heard the whole Torah. But why specifically does it say over here the heads of the tribes? Rashi already brings the famous words of Chazal, that this is a remez, this is a hint to the fact that a person who makes a neder afterwards can cancel the neder with the help of a chacham. If he goes to a chacham, even a yochid mumchi, even if it's only one, if he's a big expert in the laws of nedarim, then you can go to him and explain why it was a mistake, and he'll cancel the neder. Okay, so that's why it says here that the laws were given to the Roshei HaMatos. Shem Shmuel brings in his own name, in the name of Avnei Nezer, parts of the question and the answer are from his father, parts from his own. And he says, I don't understand. Okay, very nice. That's why it says the heads of the matos. But what's going on over here at the beginning of the parsha is the power of the neder, not the power of the chacham to be able to cancel the neder. That has to be in a different place in the parsha. When we talk about the husband canceling or the father canceling, there should be a hint to the fact that chacham could also, that a wise man or a talmid chacham could also cancel the neder. But at the beginning, we're still discussing the power of the neder. A person has to keep his word. So why over there does the Torah hint to the fact that there is some connection with the chacham, with the head of the tribes, in connection with the power of the neder? That should be in a different place. So it still needs to be understood. Shem Shmuel says like this. It says that we have to understand that the entire system of neder is a very, very fascinating topic. We know that there's certain things that the Torah allows and things that the Torah forbids. This type of meat is kosher, this type of meat is not kosher, this fish is kosher, this fish is not. If it's not kosher, it's not kosher. If it's kosher, you can eat it. Of course, any person can decide that I don't want to eat salmon because I decide I don't like salmon. But to say that I want to forbid myself from eating salmon, then it becomes forbidden, it becomes like a non-kosher fish. And I can say that I forbid this piece of salmon on him, and then he's not allowed to eat it. If he eats it, he gets a terrible punishment because he violated. How does a person have a power? How does he have the right to make something forbidden, to take a permitted object and make it forbidden? How does that work? How does that even work? So the Sfarim say, and the Chazal explain, that a person's mouth is like a kli shares. What's a kli shares? We know that in the Beis Hamikdash, there were all sorts of vessels that were used, instruments that were used. And if sanctified in the proper way, if made hekdesh, then they have the power that anything that's put inside them automatically becomes hekdesh. You take a little bit of flour, and you put it into the kli shares, into this either frying pan or into a bowl that's properly sanctified, automatically it becomes kodesh. You can't do anything more with that flour. It has to be brought as a carbon, it becomes kodesh. Why? Because that's the law of a kli shares. The mouth, say Chazal, if a person uses his mouth properly, uses it for Torah, for kedusha, for doing mitzvahs, for tefillah, for davening, then his mouth becomes like a kli shares. Anything that comes out of his mouth, he says, this should be hektish, this should be sanctified, this should be forbidden. He has the power to do it. Why? Because he has a mouth that's full of kedusha, just like a kli shares. Okay, that's good for the people, the holy people. What about the rest of us? People who sometimes talk on Shabbos about matters of weekday that he's not allowed to talk about. Sometimes a word of Lashon Hara here and there. He's not using his mouth the entire day for Torah, for davening. So what about his mouth? How does he have the power and the ability to be able to forbid something on himself or on somebody else? Says the Shem Shmuel, now he does it because he's part of the Jewish nation. He connects himself with every level of Jew in the nation, including all the way to the top, the Chachamim, the Talmidei Chachamim, the Rosh Yeshivas, and the Rabbanim of the generation, the Tzadikei Hadar. He says, I am part of that I am part of this nation. I am connected to everybody in the nation, all the way to the top. I'm connected to that tzaddik. I'm connected to that Rosh Yeshiva. If I'm connected to him, I can use some of his ability that he has, because he has such a pure mouth and such a holy mouth. I also can use my mouth, connecting to his ability and connecting to his power to be able to forbid something on myself, forbid something on somebody else, or sanctify an object for the Beis Hamikdash. But that's only if I connect myself with him. Then I'm able to do that. So really, when the Torah begins and says Moshe spoke to the Rosh Hamatis, there's a very deep hint over here, says the Shem Shmuel. You know why a person can forbid something on himself? Because Moshe told this law to the heads of the nation. The heads of the nation, we understand how they do it, and we can also do it because we're connected with them. So it turns out that the entire system of the neder works only because of and connected to the tzaddikim, the Rosh Hamatis that are living in the generation. So then it's very clearly understood how they can cancel the neder as well. If our only ability to be able to forbid something on ourselves comes because we're connected to the tzaddik, so if we do forbid something, we can go to the tzaddik and cancel, because everything depends on the level of the tzaddik and the ability of the tzaddik. So therefore he has the ability to give us the ability to be able to forbid it, and then he also has the ability in certain situations, obviously, to be able to cancel the neder. So the lesson of the neder is obviously very, very relevant to everybody, because how important it is and how careful we have to be to keep our word, to keep our promise, and not to be lax with what we promise somebody. It's a very, very serious system of nedarim and shvuos. It's a very serious subject. But hidden in this mitzvah of nedarim is also the idea that a person has to do his maximum to be able to connect with the tzaddik, with the Talmid Chacham, with the Rav. Every person has to try as much as possible to have maximum connection with the holy people in our nation, because that's what gives us our power. We get our power from the tzaddikim of the nation, says the Shem Shmuel. Good Shabbos. Please don't forget to subscribe. You'll get the video every week by subscribing. Put a like. Thank you very much. Good Shabbos.